Hi, I am Jaclyn Steele, and welcome to Self-Discovery. Howard Thurman so beautifully wrote, "Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." Coming alive. That, my friends, is what self-discovery is all about.
Wear that mask for.
Hello, friends and beautiful listeners. Happy Wednesday to you, and welcome to episode 99 of Self-Discovery with Jaclyn Steele. Today's topic is why the Akashic Records have the power to transform your life. Beautiful listeners, I have been sitting on the contents of this episode since June, a full 6 months. And I've mentioned my love affair with the Akashic Records several times in this podcast in different episodes. However, I have not done a deep dive on the Akashic Records for a couple of reasons. Number one, they are so vast and holy and sacred that explaining what they are and how powerful they can be in one's life is not an easy task. It's something I've wanted to sit with and marinate on. I mean, they are essentially the ultimate tool for understanding ourselves and the world around us. More on that in a little bit. Number two, I've wanted to spend some time studying them. On and off over the last 6 months, I've done Akashic readings on myself, on my husband, and I've also done some pretty astounding Akashic readings on other people who you will hear from in this podcast. You will get their first person accounts and testimonies. And so now, because of my experience with myself and working with other people in the Akashic Records, I feel like I am much more comfortable speaking about them and their incredible wisdom and efficacy. Before I dive into what the Akashic Records are and share these testimonies with you and why I think the Akashic Records are so important, a couple things I want you to keep in mind. These are business things we need to take care of regarding the podcast. Text me. I want you to start texting me. I send out Sacred Rebel affirmations several times a week, and the feedback that I'm getting on these are so awesome. They're encouraging, they're uplifting, they're going to bring you back to the present moment and uplift your day. You can text me at 480-531-6858. Again, that's 480-531-6858. That number is in the show notes as well. But once you opt in, type in the word sacred, SACRED, and you'll automatically be opted into this list. It's free for now, but will not be free forever. So if you join early, you'll be in for life. Next thing I want to talk about is The Scoop, which is my newsletter that comes out mostly on a weekly basis, maybe 3 times a month. So definitely not spamming your inbox, but it is all about self-worth and elevating your self-worth and awesome tips, tricks, products that most of the time I can get you a discount on. And this newsletter is something I pour a lot of energy and heart into each week. So please sign up for that. That's also in the show notes. It's also on my website, jaclynsteele.com. There are several opt-ins there. I may even be sending you some freebies if you opt in. The next piece of business we need to address is the podcast timing. So season 2 of Self-Discovery will end on the 22nd of this month. And then we're going to take a short hiatus from December 22nd until January 19th. So season 3 of this podcast will start January 19th. Next season is going to bring along with it some really exciting changes. I will get more into the nitty-gritty of those changes in the last episode in season 2, so episode 100. But be on the lookout for that. We're going to take a little break until January 19th. And then to celebrate the 100th episode of this podcast, I'm doing a giveaway. And all you have to do to enter the giveaway, which photos of the giveaway are going to be posted this week on Instagram, on my Instagram account at Jaclyn Steele. But these prizes are so cool. They're essentially my favorite things from the last year. It's a piece from Parker Clay. It's a product from Living Libations. There are some crystals in there, incense, all kinds of other really heartfelt, soul-nourishing goodies. And all you have to do to enter, to win, is write a podcast review on Apple Podcasts. That is it. Screenshot the review to me and send it to hello@jaclynsteele.com. It's that easy. We don't have a lot of entries yet, so your chances of winning a prize are very high. And again, these prizes are expensive and they're really, really beautiful. So be sure to enter. If you have any questions about entering, the directions are also in the show notes. So access the show notes or go to jaclynsteele.com and click on this episode in the blog lineup, in the podcast lineup, and that will also give you all of the directions. All right. Now I want to share with you what the Akashic Records are, why they are so transformational, some real life information I've been given in the records, and then I'm going to share a couple of client testimonials, like I mentioned, so you can hear other people's perspectives. So first, what the Akashic Records are. I think it's really important for me to introduce you to this vast library of information. I've been studying them personally via the master, Linda Howe, and through her several books, one being How to Read the Akashic Records. It is so beautiful. It is so informative. And here is how she introduces her readers, her listeners, her students to the Akashic Records. This is directly out of her book, How to Read the Akashic Records. This is what she has to say. The Akashic Records are a dimension of consciousness that contains a vibrational record of every soul and its journey. This vibrational body of consciousness exists everywhere in its entirety and is completely available at all times and in all places. As such, the records are an experiential body of knowledge that contains everything that every soul has ever thought, said, and done over the course of its existence, as well as all its future possibilities. Let's break the above definition into smaller parts, starting with the meaning of dimension of consciousness. A dimension of consciousness is a realm of the unseen world that we humans can identify and experience through its qualities, characteristics, or traits. For example, the dream state is a dimension of consciousness containing different levels of sleep activity that humans can identify and experience. Other dimensions of consciousness can be identified as different regions of the mind, the conscious and the subconscious, the zone of memory, areas of musical or mathematical abilities, and areas of the brain that govern all physical capabilities. Still, other dimensions of consciousness are the different states of relaxation that are measured by brain activity. What all these dimensions of consciousness have in common is that, although they are unseen, we know they exist. In the process of accessing or opening the Akashic Records, we transition from a state of ordinary human consciousness to a state of divine universal consciousness in which we recognize our oneness with the divine at all levels. This state of consciousness allows us to perceive the impressions and vibrations of the records. In this way, the records have served humanity throughout its unfolding by being an extraordinary state through which we can receive divine illumination at a manageable rate and integrate it into our human experience. Because of this integration, we can quite literally say that accessing the Akasha allows us glimpses of heaven on earth. Now, she goes way further into depth into the meaning of Akasha and how The Akashic Records have been referenced in all kinds of texts throughout history, including the Bible. But I just wanted to give you that little snippet of the depth of the Akashic Records. And here's why they are so transformational, beyond the fact that they are a whole other dimension of consciousness and contain every vibrational record of every soul that has ever existed. They're also extremely practical for everyday life. They are not just existential, philosophical, solving tools. They are everyday, or it is an everyday life-solving tool as well. So the Akashic Records can help us, and I'm just going to list off all of the things that I have experienced help in, or my clients have experienced help in, okay? So they can help us cultivate spiritual awareness, cultivate a relationship with God, the universe, however you want to label the higher power that created us, understand our soul purpose in this lifetime, understand specific patterns, traumas, etc., that we have had long-term struggles with and why we've had those struggles, understand our past lives and why we came into this one with certain characteristics and thought patterns, even if they are subconscious. They help us understand why we are in a relationship with a specific someone, whether that be platonic or romantic. They help us understand the lesson behind a difficult situation. So if you're searching for meaning, coming out of a painful circumstance, they are such a helpful tool. They help us cultivate deeper levels of physical, mental, and spiritual help. They help us become aware of other dimensional beings that are helping us or really want to help us on our path here on Earth. They give us guidance around important decisions. So maybe you want to change your profession. Maybe you want to get married. Maybe you want to have a baby. They help us make those decisions in a really soft, gentle, beautiful, wise way. They help us feel a sense of groundedness and peace in very specific ways in very specific circumstances. And I know I'm not getting specific in saying that, but they will, in my experience, give such detailed instructions that it's like almost impossible to misinterpret. They help us understand the reasons behind our patterns of behavior, both negative and positive. They help with guidance in our careers. They aid in deep emotional healing from trauma and pain, like deep, deep emotional healing, because they help us understand why those things occurred in the first place. They pinpoint physical pains and what their emotional cause is. So there's a lot of metaphysical healing. They unblock creative blockages, help us rewrite old narratives, help us reframe and rewrite limiting beliefs that keep us stuck. They help us foster a relationship with past loved ones if those loved ones want to be a part of our life. And they help us foster relationships with additional other dimensional helpers and angels. They help us to understand our soul's purpose in this lifetime. I mentioned that, I think earlier in this episode. They help us with validation for our feelings. So why we're feeling the way we are, even if it's not a helpful feeling, they will help us understand why we are feeling that and help us to know that whatever it is that we are feeling, it's okay. Doesn't mean that we stay in that place forever, but we're here where we are for a reason. They give us gentle reprimands when we are not on the right path. You'll hear from somebody who I did an Akashic reading for, who reiterates this. They help us deconstruct visions and dreams. So if you have a weird dream or a vision that is very vivid, they can help you understand. They help us to understand seemingly unrelated events as essential pieces to a puzzle. So if you're wondering why your life has taken all these turns and swirls and circles and whatevers, they'll help you put those pieces together. And then the last thing that I have on here, and this is by no means an exhaustive list, is they help to make the path of life feel straighter instead of so meandering. There's such a sense of purpose in every reading, and I leave every reading, whether it's for myself or for others, with a feeling of clarity. So I want to give you now some real life examples of what I have experienced in the records. I am not going to share the downloads I have received for other people during their sessions because that's confidential. However, I am going to share some of the things that I have learned personally in the records about myself. One of the first questions I asked was around money and why my relationship with making money was so inconsistent. And they said, and this is a quote, "Jaclyn, you are called to be doing spiritual work, yet you do spiritual work and do not charge for it. You thought all your life that doing spiritual work would not make you money, but in fact, it is in the spiritual work that you will find your pathway to financial stability." Pretty cool, huh? That's like a very specific answer to my money question. Another one, I asked how to prove the existence of the human soul. I am in a group of 3 people right now that has been tasked with creating a formula that proves the existence of the human soul. I'm doing some special podcast episodes on this next year in 2022. And the answer I received was, the soul has a specific frequency. If you find that frequency, you can prove the existence of the soul. I was so floored when they answered that question so specifically because I was like, this is one of my first times in the record. There's no way I'm going to be able to go this deep and get an answer that's really clear on the existence of the human soul. But I did, and it was so profound. Another one that I asked, or another question that I asked, it had to do with what was happening to me at the beginning of my pregnancy. I was so sick and exhausted and scared. And I asked, why did you allow me to become pregnant if it's going to be so hard and scary and confusing? And they replied, you being pregnant is ushering in the next level of your consciousness. So it was all on purpose. So this is the last one that I am going to share. But again, I've had multiple profound experiences, but this one has to do with one of my loved ones. So one of my grandmothers in one of my readings emerged. And I thought this was interesting because in this lifetime, we were not close when she was alive. And as she emerged and came forward in this reading, I asked her why it was that so many of my cousins idolize her, and I feel such a sense of anger toward her. So, side note, it's safe to be angry in the records and to share the full range of your emotions. And in this reading, she said, I misunderstood your intentions. I thought you didn't like me, but really you just didn't know how to relate to me. I was traditional and quiet and submissive, and you were the opposite. And everything in me wanted to control those urges in you because I thought they would get you in trouble. Just like I thought if I acted on those urges, I would get in trouble. But now I see that you being you has in many ways set you free. And I'm sorry we weren't close in your physical lifetime, but I hope we can be close now. I would like to know you now. I've always loved you. I just didn't know how to express that love. So some of these connections with loved ones that come forward are so profound. I in no way, shape, or form asked to speak to this grandmother while I was in the records. She came forward. And so that's also something that's very possible, is connecting with loved ones who have passed on from this physical dimension. The Akashic Records foster such a deep, deep sense of soul level understanding and healing. And I don't know of any other spiritual tool that works quite this specifically. Okay? So now that I've shared a few profound things that I have personally experienced in the records, I'm going to leave some space for several people to share what their experience has been during their reading. And over the next few minutes, you are going to hear from Allison, from Emily, and from Terry. I am so grateful to these women for bravely sharing their experience with such honesty And I also want to reiterate that any reading that is done with anyone is done so in a container of unconditional love and zero judgment. So please enjoy hearing from these beautiful women's testimony regarding the Akashic Records.
So I had an Akashic reading with Jaclyn about 2 months ago. It was the day before my 33rd birthday. And I've been going through like a really rough period of time. I moved to a new city and starting a new career, and I felt a lot of uncertainty in my life, and I was looking for some guidance, and that is exactly what I got. First of all, Jaclyn is a sweetheart and made me feel comfortable and loved and accepted like right out of the gate, which is a feat. I think it's because she's like so genuine and really wants to help people and give the gift of like understanding ourselves and knowledge. The messages she shared with me that were from my guides were also really loving and supportive, and I didn't really know what to expect, but this like exceeded any kind of expectation I would have had, because I felt like it was equal parts like psychic and therapeutic. It really helped me gain perspective on myself. I think I wasn't seeing myself very clearly. I was really hard on myself, and having the permission to like extend self-love and patience and kindness to myself was a gift I received through this Akashic Records reading. I learned a lot about my like family history, which is really wild and cool, and I did not expect that. And I know that guides and spirits from the other side are close, and that gives me comfort instead of having it be scary. I would definitely do it again. I want to do it again. And I would really recommend it to anybody who, just wants to learn more about themselves, or has some questions about their life path, or their, like literally anything, like their trauma. Why did they go through this, this like hard thing? It brought a lot of clarity to my life, and for that I am so grateful. It was an invaluable experience for me, and thank you so much, Jaclyn.
When Jaclyn asked me to share about my experience with the Akashic Records, I was so excited. It was finally an opportunity to be able to help her, even if it's just a fraction of the way that she helped me. But pretty quickly, I realized what a task it would be to sum up 2 life-changing experiences within 3 minutes. After multiple failed attempts to make a 3-minute video, I finally sent Jaclyn a note so that I could write this all out for you, which is probably why this sounds so rehearsed. But I said, what do you want me to touch on? And in classic kind of Jaclyn fashion, she immediately responded with the perfect answer to help people. And those were, was it helpful? How did it make me feel? And would I recommend it? So the first and third were kind of easy yeses for me. Was it helpful? Yes. Would I recommend it? Yes. But the second question of how did it make me feel was actually a lot harder, because I had 2 very different experiences when I did these sessions with her. The first one was amazing. I mean, it left me feeling so connected, so loved, so seen, important. The first session was kind of an opportunity to ask all of the things that are kind of these age-old questions that we all ask, right? Of like, tell me about karma, and why do bad things happen to good people? And, how do I get through this? How can I be a better person? Why is this happening to me? Those kind of questions. Whereas the second session was a little bit more of like them saying, okay, we've told you what to do to find more happiness and to be better and to be happier, but it was, I don't know if chastising is the word that I'm going for, but I kind of liken it to therapy as how, like, not every session feels really good, but in hindsight, it's always worth it. The first session was one that you walked away from. For me, at least, the first session was something I walked away from, and I felt just so seen. And like I said, I think like holy is the appropriate word. I felt really connected to the universe and to source and to God. And they gave me so much good insight and advice in the first session. But the second session was kind of like, why haven't you taken our advice? Which is fair. You know, I probably did the sessions too close together. And I don't think I properly implemented the information that they gave me in the first session to improve my life. So the second session was a little bit more of something like a kick in the pants. But not in a mean way. I mean, it was in a very good way. And I think it's, I'm nervous to even touch on this because I think I don't want it to deter people. But the second session did leave me still feeling very seen, very connected with the universe. But, you know, as the saying kind of goes, the truth hurts.
So I had an Akashic Records reading with Jaclyn a few days ago. And that is not something I had thought about doing before. I didn't know anything about it, so I didn't know how it worked. So saying that, I was really nervous when I first went into it. But Jaclyn made me feel very, very safe and comfortable. I am so glad that I did this reading. I learned a lot about, like, who I was in a past life, which was kind of shocking, I guess, because that's not who I am now. But I learned why I am the way I am now. So that was really, really cool. I learned a lot about, like, my family and my past ancestors. My spirit guides told me what I need to do, to reach my soul's purpose, which was one of the main reasons I wanted to do this. I wanted to find out what my soul's purpose was. And I did get a lot of clarity on that. So I am so happy about that. I am super, super glad that I did this because I mean, after I was done, I felt like kind of like free, I guess. Like I knew who I was and then everything made sense. And I also remember, like, when I asked some of the questions and then the guides told me the answers, I mean, I think my mouth was open, like, most of the time because I was like, whoa, you know, amazing. Because it made so much sense. So I feel awesome after that reading. I would definitely recommend doing an Akashic Records reading with Jaclyn to anybody who even thinks about doing one, because it's very, very eye-opening. I would describe it as very spiritual and magical. I would highly recommend it, and I would definitely do it again.
I'm so glad that you got to hear from these gorgeous ladies, and I will reiterate, doing the readings for these women and for clients is so, it's again hard to put into words because I feel such a sense of overwhelming love, and I will often cry during the readings because I feel such a sense of love coming from the masters, teachers, and loved ones of the people I'm reading for. This experience cannot be described in like one episode. You almost have to experience it to fully understand it. But every time I have accessed the Akashic Records, I have walked away with a profound sense of energy and healing and love. Okay, so that brings me to the end of today's episode. I hope you have a clearer understanding of what the records are and how pivotal and transformational they can be in our lives. If you feel led to dive into this information further, I cannot recommend Linda Howe enough. You can find her books on Amazon. I will link them in the show notes below. Her books have been such a huge resource for me and have brought me such a sense of healing and comfort. And additionally, if you'd like to book a reading with me, my Calendly link is also in the show notes. You can book directly there and get more information on how to prep for a reading should you have questions. But it would be my honor to do a reading for you. I am opening up my calendar come January for those readings and keeping it open at least for the next 6 months. All right, friends, this life we see in this dimension is so beautiful, and there is so much more. There is so much more that we do not see that is supporting us in the here and now. And all we have to do is pay attention.